and welcome to Dream It, Dare It, Do It, Live the Life You Want. I'm Jasmine, I'm your host. And as you know, this year I want to highlight the beautiful work that everybody in this wonderful community is doing. And so I reached out to everybody and I told them, hey, submit your programs. And today I'm so excited because I have actually Robin Charbit with me. Hi, Robin.
Hi, Jasmine. Lovely to be here.
Everybody, Robin is on one of the most all-time favorite episodes that we've already had together. But today, I want you guys to learn a little bit about what Robin does. And he also has a book, so we can it probably aligns, right? So today, we're going to be talking about Invisible Power, the Next Paradigm. That's a program that's coming up in April for you.
Yeah. So what do you want to know, Jasmine? What would your listeners like to know, you think?
Well, let's let them know a little bit what invisible power is, according to Robin Charbit.
Okay. So most people don't realize that their moment-to-moment experience is being created inside their mind through a very elegant and powerful process. Most people think the outside world, the circumstances, are the primary cause of their experience. But if you look very carefully, you'll see that it's not. It's something that's going on within you. An example is you and a friend go to the cinema, the movies together, you see the same film in the same theater at the same time, and you don't have the same experience. Well, how come? Well, because you interpreted and made different things up in your mind about that movie. Now, many people point this out. We're not the only ones. This is not new. This understanding has been around for millennia. If you read Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, he says, you are who you think you are. So what we have been doing for the last 25 years is bringing this understanding to the business world. And the reason we do that is if you look at the business world, it's quite messy. You know, it's a miracle anything gets done in the business world. You get 8 people together, they have a meeting, and then everybody leaves with a different understanding of what got agreed, then it doesn't happen. Very often, meetings in the business world are ping pong. No one's looking for a new idea. They're just slamming the ball backwards and forwards. So if you look at the world of business, it's grossly inefficient. Well, we found that when you educate people on what's going on inside their mind, it dramatically ups that efficiency. And not only does it produce remarkable business results, but it helps people individually because we carry our mind everywhere we go. And if it's busy, confused, and not working well, then guess how the rest of your life looks. So when we help teams in the business world, we are basically helping the whole person and the organization and the objective that the organization is aiming for. And we've been doing this, for 25 years, and about 15 years ago, we decided to write a book about it. And the book came because people kept bugging us, can you have anything written? We did a 1-pager, then a 5-pager, then a 10-pager. Then we wrote this book, which was just a manual to go with our programs. And we had it professionally edited because, we work with very important companies and we didn't want typos and, bad grammar. And the editor said, you should publish this. So we published it and it hit the bestseller list first month it was out. And every year, thousands of people buy this book. And this book is called Invisible Power because it points to what is the core understanding that describes and explains this invisible power. And the book also explains what's the implications of this. Whenever there's a force in nature, like, if you look at, gravity, there's an implication of that force. So in terms of gravity, the implication of gravity is things fall. Now, if you understand the principle and you understand the implication, it allows you to navigate the world of gravity really well. So you don't give your great aunt's crystal vase to a 5-year-old. You don't put your cup of coffee on the edge of the table. You don't lean too far out of a window. You don't have to have a label telling you not to do that because you understand how gravity works. Well, when you understand how your mind works, you understand all the principles, you start to see the implications of what your mind is doing. It dramatically cleans up the inefficiency in business. So we wrote this book. And then we had a lot of people who aren't in big companies contact us and say, hey, I'd love to learn what you do. How could I understand this? And since we had no desire to build a big company, we decided that twice a year we'd put on a public program for anybody who wanted, so that they could sample. So if you want, we wanted to be open source. We don't, what we came up with is not proprietary. We learned this from a lovely man called Sydney Banks. If you read Sydney Banks' works, you'll see it echoes what's been in most of the religions and philosophies and understanding about the human condition for thousands of years. Sid just had a very elegant and clean and simple way of explaining it. So we decided, why don't we just open source this? And so twice a year, we run a program where we run an exact copy of what we do when we're with a business team. And the purpose of the program is twofold. It's to have people learn this understanding for themselves. And if you're a practitioner, you're a coach, you're a business leader, and you want to maybe use this in your organization, it shows you how we teach it. Now, the program is 2.5, 3 days. If you do that, it's not going to make you super skilled at how to teach it. But for most people, it's enough to get them oriented and looking in the right direction. And for most people, it's enough. But at a minimum, it teaches you how your mind works. And the consequence is you get to live in your mind in a different way, whether you go and teach it to anybody else in the world. And, since it's not our core business, we don't mind how many people come. We typically get 35 to 50 people per program. It's all done online, so we have people from around the world. It's a nice, gentle pace. There's a bit of prep people have to do beforehand. We record it all, so everybody gets a copy of the recording for their own use. Everybody gets a copy of the book. And then we have a bunch of friends out there in the world who can contact us if they need something. So it's I think, one of the simplest ways to learn this understanding that I've come across. Because when you teach it to the business world, you have to be really elegant and clean and simple, because they're not interested. That's the paradox of what we do. Most of the people that we work with do not have on their bucket list, learn about my mind. Yeah. How do I get more profit? How do I increase sales? How do I reduce my workload? I mean, they've got a lot of really practical things, which this understanding helps with. But the way into the help is to first learn this understanding. So we have to first educate them and then help them apply it to whatever they want to work on. And these 2.5 days, 3 days, that's basically the core content. And if you look at our website, we have our main website, which is Insight Principles, where all our corporate work is. But for this public training stuff, it's on insightprinciplesinstitute.com. And principles is principles, PLES, not ALS. It's principles like scientific principles.
Well, and then you also gave me a link. I'm going to put the link in the description.
Fabulous. So go on there. We have a few other programs, but Invisible Power is the main one we do. All the other ones that sort of add on. Once you've learned a bit, once you've got a bit of experience, sometimes people come back for more advanced programs. But the Invisible Power is the one that most people start with. So
is it mainly for people who do not have the understanding of the 3 principles, or that they need to know something about it?
You don't need to know anything to do the program. And half the people who come are people who really understand this. They got educated in a different forum, in a different setup. And the setup that they learned it in doesn't seem to be appropriate and oriented towards the world of business. So it wasn't like practical. What they like about ours is it's really practical. So we always have a mixed class. We have mums, dads, brothers, sisters, business colleagues. And as I said, about half have some understanding. Some even have a lot. And they're more the practitioners who want to come see, how do we do it? How do you guys explain it? Because I think we do it in a rather unique way. And then the other half are people who've heard about it, don't know much. It was recommended to them, or they've had a conversation and they like the conversation, and then they've signed up for the program.
So you've been with the understanding of the 3 principles, or you've understood this how many years ago?
It must be 25 years now.
Yeah. So what did I feel like having a question. What did you do before that? I was having a conversation the other day. We were in the French community, actually. We did a webinar and it was about the end of personal development. So, because every single one of us were like having this conversation about, well, before the three principles, I personally was into tarot reading, was into numerology, and I'm just like, it's very different. It's not like it, everything I learned before brought me to this, and then I kind of like went, oh, like, did you, like, what brought you to the three principles?
Well, I'm a chemical engineer by training. I'm not a psychologist. I did engineering straight out of university. I worked for a very, very big multinational company, one of the biggest companies in the world, and they only hire engineers, and then they turn those engineers into anything else they wanted. So by 32, I was running this massive business for them. I was a business leader. And I'd been with them for about 11 years. And I decided the big corporate life wasn't for me. And as an engineer, I loved problem solving. So I went into the consulting industry, the management consulting industry, to consult to the industry I'd come from. And I was going to do that for just a couple of years to retool myself. And I loved it because if you love problems, management consulting is like problems on steroids. And that's what brought me to the US. And I was loving my job. And one of the interesting aspects of being a management consultant is you're very often dealing with much more senior levels of management than if you were an employee. So I was, my early 30s, and I'd be in the room with the CEO, with other people. So I got to see these brilliant, accomplished, very experienced people. And most of the time it was fascinating. And then some of the times it was actually a bit disturbing because they would make or say things which weren't very clever, make decisions, or I'd be like, that's not smart. Why did he say that? Or why did she do that? And then as I reflected on it, I realized that our IQ is not static. You could draw a bell curve like a histogram or normal distribution. There's the mean, there's the middle of the histogram, which is how you would test. If they tested you, what's your IQ, Jasmine? What's your IQ, Robin? But if you look at your day, at any point in time, you're either ahead or behind. There are moments where you're, jumping tall buildings, spitting bullets, walking on water, and things are just happening in the flow. And there are times where your glasses are on your head, and you spend half an hour looking for your glasses and you can't write a coherent email to save your life. So as I noticed that, it was a universal phenomenon for me also, I got curious, what caused that variability? Because I'd worked with teams, Jasmine, who'd been in the performance, in flow, at peak, and with next to no time, next to no resources, they'd pulled the rabbit out of the hat. They'd done something seminal to the point that years later they talked about, oh, you remember that time? And conversely, I'd been with teams that had all the smarts, all the resources, and couldn't figure out lunch. So it looked to me that you didn't need a new process, you didn't need new ways of doing things. You just need to have more people over here and less people over here. So by then I was, 20 years in the business world. I was more of a management scientist. I started looking into all the management literature. I could find no explanation of what caused that variability. Too much alcohol, of course, moves you that way. You have a bad head cold, it moves you that way. You don't sleep for 48 hours, you move that way. Gross physiological things, we know what that does. But what has you, in the morning be in flow, in the afternoon be, dangerous, or vice versa? No one could tell us. So with a colleague, we looked beyond the world of management science. And the colleague who was also interested came across Sid Banks. And Sid Banks, what he calls the three principles, explains how the mind works. And it's the mind that's causing that variability. And what we find is when you explain enough to people, they spend more time over here. And more of the time when they're over here, they realize they're over here, and then they can put their arms in and avoid the damage and get back here quicker. So we learned a bit, enough to be dangerous. We tried it out with a few clients, and sure enough, it helped people move here. And what we found is when people moved here, the results they produced were beyond what we'd seen as management consultants. So we figured this is the next frontier of management science. We left the big consulting company, set up our own company, and tried to bring Sid's understanding to the world of business with very, very middling success. Because, as I mentioned earlier, no one was interested. I remember I had a CEO who I'd worked with for many years. He liked me. I told him I was doing a new thing. He said, please, come and tell me what it is, Robin. I'm always interested. So I show up and we're in his penthouse office, on the top floor, all this art on the wall. And he says, so what is it that you do? I said, well, I help people think better. And he sort of looks at me, smirks a bit, and then looks around his office and says, my thinking's pretty good, thanks. It was a short meeting.
It
So,
was.
because I wasn't offering him anything he thought he needed.
Yeah.
And so we mucked around until we had this insight, which is you have to help people with something that is relevant to them. And then bring this understanding in underneath that. So it's a bit like giving medication to a dog. You have to wrap it in bacon or cheese or peanut butter or whatever the dog likes. Now, it's not sleight of hand. I mean, they need the pill. So what we do is we would say, okay, that's the business objective you want. You need to do this, move your earnings by this much. We'll help you do that. And the way we do that is we teach you something and then help you apply it. And they go, fine, but I'm going to get the 100 million, the 200 million. Yeah. And then we developed and got better at explaining how people could learn this who weren't all that interested. Because when you sat down and you said your boss has invited you to a program and we're going to spend 2 days on the mind, either in front of us or in the background, their eyeballs would roll in their sockets. Because in the world of therapy or in the world of medicine, you go to the doctor or the therapist because you want help. These guys didn't want anything. We'd been foisted upon them by their boss. So over the years, we've developed a lot of very intelligent approaches to get people onto the playing field and realize this is valuable, get interested in it, and then we run our program. So the 2.5-day program that you're kindly advertising for me doesn't explain how you do all of that front end stuff. It's just once you get them in the room, this is what you do. But the long answer to your short question is, I came across this through the world of business. I saw it as a massive missing. And the more I've helped deploy this in the world of business, the results have been, incredible. If you go on my corporate website, there's a whole section on results. We don't update it anymore, but it's just, literally moving earnings by $400 million in a matter of days. It's stuff that you would not have believed.
It's my experience too. I'm working, I work with solopreneurs, and I help them with their business. Now, I do both the practical and the coaching side of it. But I generally approach people with the practical side of it, like it's kind of like, you want to have email, I can help you. But then I talk to them, I'm like, no. What do you want to do? So we start getting clear. And I really love it when I get this client who's all of a sudden seeing the thinking and like being with it, but is going into this flow. Like I can see their own creativity show up and shine. And then I can see I want to be in action now. Like they just want, because I think that it's a natural thing for human beings to just want to be in action once we're clear. And I think what stops us is our thinking.
Well, yeah. And also, people, if you don't know how something works, it's hard to use it well.
Yeah.
Most people don't get given a car and a set of keys and good luck. No, they get trained. In fact, in most countries, you get tested before they let you actually drive it legally. Because imagine if you gave people cars and they didn't know how they work. They'd be driving with the parking brake on, they'd be grinding the gears because they don't know what the clutch is.
Some of them wouldn't even know how to start the car.
Exactly. So if the human mind is understood, you can use it better. And so what happens is these people start to see why they had those moments of brilliance and then how to repeat them reliably. So we do 2 days on the understanding and 2 days on accessing that brilliance about whatever the problem is that they need to resolve. And for people in the world of business who are not interested, those second 2 days, it's like, okay, I got it now. And so in the public program that we do, we just do the front end. And because everybody's signing up their own time, their own money, most people show up very motivated. So it works really, really well. And the only difference between this program and what we do in the business world is it won't be a contiguous group of people. It won't be a team with a shared problem. It will be a variety of different people. But the way we run the program is exactly the same. And if you're a coach or a consultant, you'll get to see how it all works. And if you really have expertise in the field of coaching and consulting, you'll see how to start integrating this understanding and that into your practice. So most people tell us it's very, very helpful.
Okay, so it starts on April 24th. It's 12 to 6 UK time.
Correct.
So that means for Easterners, it's 6 to 12.
Yes.
6 in the morning. Okay.
No, it's 7 in the morning.
7
Because
in the morning.
there's
Oh,
5
yeah,
hours
it's 5
difference with
hours.
UK.
I keep forgetting the 5 hours. I don't know why I keep doing 6. And then I'm going to put the sign up link inside the thing, the description. So anybody that wants to sign up, and I'm seeing that it's $700 US or 575. What is that, GBP?
Pounds, UK. We started doing these programs in person in the UK, and then people would fly in from around the world. And then when COVID hit, we put it online, and we never changed the pricing base to the US. And if you're coming from anywhere in the world, the app converts it into your currency. So
fantastic. Okay, is there anything else you think that we should tell these people who are listening to us?
yeah, so some people are like, yeah, but is this for me? Is this the right thing? Well, contact us.
Yeah.
We have a big advantage in that this is less than 3% of our business. So we don't have to make a lot of money. We don't have to have a lot of people in. So, if it's not the right thing for you, we'll tell you. We don't want people to show up, for the wrong reasons. So if someone's not sure, they don't understand, we're not shy to say, oh no, this isn't for you, or do this first, or you don't need it. You got all you need already.
Okay.
So please, people should feel free to contact us if they have any questions.
Well, everybody, I'm going to also put somewhere in the screen a link to the English conversation that we had, but we also have, for those of you who speak French, Robin has come and spoken to the French community. We have 3 or 4. I don't even know how many you've done so far now, but I'm going to put a link to the playlist, because we created a playlist on the YouTube channel so that you guys can go listen. So if you want to have a little bit more of a feeling of what how Robin is, basically.
One last thing just to mention is we get people from around the world. So the program is run in English, but you don't need to be a perfect English speaker. The pace is actually quite slow. So, provided you have good working English, you'll be fine in our program.
Yeah. Okay, good. Well, thank you so much. I hope that it goes well for you. I'm gonna advertise it probably another time in March for you, and just remind people to go listen to the episode. And yeah, so thank you. And
no, thank you, Jasmine, for offering to do that. It's always lovely when friends are happy to spread the word, because we don't do any marketing, so people hear about it through word of mouth. So thank you for all your help.
You're very welcome. Okay, well, we're going to end it on this. If anybody has any questions, you know how to reach us now. I'm going to put it all in the description, and I want to thank you all. And I'm going to say to, dream it, dare it, do it, live the life you want, and I'll see you on the next episode. Take care.
Bye, everybody.